Hi, everybody, and welcome to this webinar about the business-driven training organization. Both John and I have looked very much forward to this, and are very happy to welcome you here to this presentation that's based on our learnings over many years of working with training in organizations.
Yes.
Yeah. And as you can see, Morten here has changed a little bit.
It's changed a bit. Yeah.
Structure today.
He's unfortunately fallen ill.
Yeah.
So I have the pleasure of being his stand-in this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome, John. You're welcome, John. And John is a well-known partner in Champ who's driving a lot of the implementations and work with Champ out in the fields. So I'm actually very pleased to stand with you here today.
Thank you.
And of course, John will be representing Champ, and I, John, will be representing B2P today.
Yes.
So, John, can I get to say a few words about Champ?
About Champ, yes,
Yeah.
certainly. Yes, Champ is a software as a service platform that supports job training and skill management on the shop floor. Yes. Very short. That's what we do.
Yes. And I must say, over the years, when I've worked together as partners here, B2P and Champ, I've seen huge benefit of connecting the Champ platform system together with the enabling process, the way we work with people in B2P. In B2P, we work with people and organizations in 5 different continents. We have certified more than 2,500 people in our TWI programs, and that grows every day. So not only do we directly certify, but when people are trained in our method, they also certify our organizations, which we just had a sort of dialogue about before here.
Yes.
So that's just very nice to look at, I would say. So going into the agenda here for today, where the primary focus is on how to turn your organization into a business-driven training organization that enables your strategy. We have chosen these agenda points here. The why behind it, clear roles and responsibilities, and needed processes in your organization, how to spot your trainer talents, how to get quality into a training process confirmation led by leaders, and then a product demo of Champ here.
Yes.
And in a case, and we have a case in a client who actually enabled both of the programs together. So this is the agenda we'll go through. If there are questions, don't feel afraid of asking during the process. We'll be very open to questions.
Certainly.
And if you want to, you can also wait in the end. Both things is fine with us. That's up to you. So let's dig into it. So why training needs to change now? Many companies, they have a training process where it's more by accident or unstructured training, where there's no clear ownership of the training. It could be the leadership outsourced to a training department or to HR, somebody else. We often see also when we come out before we do our processes that it's peer-to-peer learning, but without standard, which means it's different how I train or John train or another person trains, which of course leads to variation. We also so often see that it's either tracked in simple Excel sheet with no follow-up or clear KPIs, which means it's not here and now data we're looking at, and it could also be unprecise data. It could also be that it's high level in a high level LMS system is tracked, which also makes no sense on the shop floor. So that's one of the things we also see. We also see that it takes a long time to onboard. There's low flexibility, quality issues, and safety issues arising. So there are a lot of consequences of that deal most organization. So I mean, I need to say that training needs to be connected to the strategy and takes extreme serious by management to get the real results. If we compare an organization with random training compared to a business-driven training organization, if we look at purpose, we could say somebody needs training. Where in the business-driven is tied to business need and performance goals. And those things will come into the next couple of slides here, what that could look like. Another one could be who delivers it, who actually does the training. The question would be who's available compared to one that's selected on ability and the role, meaning the trainer ability and the role. How is it done? Informal, person to person, depending on the person. It could also be structured, standardized, and easy to scale. So the difference here are obvious. The leadership role, passive or unclear. What we hear in many cases of is we don't have time. We don't know what to do. It's kind of the trainer, they do know how to do training, or we have a support function who leads the training. But me, I'm a leader. I don't have time to drive it or implement it or use it. On the business drive of it, actively engage in prioritizing and follow-up, meaning choose where to be training and making sure it follows through. Supported by system, the Excel sheet on manual tracking compared to digital platform, tracking and governance that we can use here and now reveal data. Impact, the random training, short-lived and hard to measure. We hear that many organizations, they actually say we use a lot of hours on training, but we don't know we get of that. And when we ask how many hours do you use on training, they actually also don't know that. So no clearancy, no structure. It's not easy for leaders to follow up on that. What needs to be on the impact, documented, data-driven, and aligned with strategic objectives or goals. So we can say, without digital support in this system, it is hard to manage competencies in real time. We definitely see the difference between you go in and out of an organization. Many times when we start the organization journey, we get people to describe the current system and a desired system that's maybe living 3 or 4 years from now that is slowly built up. But having that in mind, where we want to take our training with the organization is crucial in the beginning. So in the second slide here on how we turn strategic training into real results. So these KPIs are normally on shop floor. We see this on the production floor: safety, quality, delivery, cost, and people. The normal structure. If we train correctly in our training system, we get better safety. And I can give an example of that with a training system on safety. So one of the cases we've done in BTP is we've helped a company with a lot of terminals. So we're actually having 29 terminals with them. In one of the terminals, we helped on a safety issue, and that was on the lashing of the containers. And before we did the training there was weekly, daily incidents on handling this with lashing. After we did the training on safety here on the lashing, for the period where we measured that, I'm a part of the project for 6 months, there was 0 incidents or accidents on the lashing process. Here it was a small job, trained by job instruction on how to complete the lashing process. So going from almost daily, weekly incidents to 0 for 6 months on quality training. One on quality, that could be one of our clients is a postal service, where imagine a parcel organization that receives between 380,000 pallets a day. They need to be sorted and put into containers. When I put the parcel inside the container, it matters how I put it in, because if I don't put it in correctly, we're sending a lot of air. So here in the training, we had kind of one key point, and we really discussed that key point. It took a long time to discuss it. Should it be that we place the parcel like Lego bricks? Should it be we place the parcels like you build a house with bricks? Or should it be putting the parcel in like Tetris, the game? So having the right key point here and talking to people about it, we trained 250 people in this specific job breakdown or doing this training here. We reduced air with 10%, which is about the same as $1 million, actually a bit more, 8 million Danish kroner. So I say that was a pretty good win looking at hours spent versus earned for the company. So that was first time through on the quality here. The same goes on delivery. We have done a lot of projects on changeover projects that we see variation goes down. One of the projects I was part of was in the molding area in a bigger company where the pilot team had variations of 150 minutes in the changeover time, which is a lot. After the pilot project, it was down to 2-3 minutes on the variation, which of course both increased the capacity, but also we will count much more on the delivery here. So getting precise training will also reduce kind of the variation in takt time. Looking at cost, of course, when we do quality mistakes, it's more first time through. We'll have less cost on our production, which of course is good for everybody. Looking at people, we did a project on the people side of it, where we called into a company in Slovakia and Czech Republic to reduce the onboarding time because people were leaving. There was a high turnover, so they needed to train faster. So in this case here was actually interesting because we did reduce the onboarding time a lot, actually more than 50%. But at the same time, people stayed because now they knew what was expected of them. They could actually perform correctly, and they got acknowledgement for doing it correctly. So people actually stayed. So looking at all these KPIs, with a good quality system, we can improve it. The question is, where's your problem today? Where would you focus with your training system today? Ensuring that when you have a problem, you also fix it with training. So we lift the organization through good training. So looking at this, a level up, I would say. We can also say it could be strategic. We need to improve our capacity. We need to improve our flexibility, consistency, retention, or compliance. So capacity, in one of the cases we worked with in a process company, they were looking at buying an extra line, but improving the changeover process and making the process more stable, we could postpone a new line being added 3 years. And looking at that as a capacity-wise is pretty smart. That you can postpone buying a new line for maybe millions of dollars. Flexibility the same. One thing is we can do the process here in Denmark, maybe where we're located right now, John and I. But flexibility could also mean that we can build a factory somewhere else and transfer the skills. It could also be transferred between departments, that we maybe get to use the worker from one department to do less skilled in here and so on. We can flex people around. So flexibility is definitely also a key point when we talk about training. Consistency, having training and process confirmation follow-up is extremely important to have consistency, because we know that people unlearn, which means even though I've reached a level on my competence matrix, with time it will lower again if we don't maintain it, meaning retraining, process confirmation, putting light on it in many different ways. Retention. Today we fight for employees. There's more jobs than employees right now. That's possible that we can hire. So making sure they feel safe and good at the workplace and competent is extremely important. And the more younger generation coming in, they will also like to see a career path, a clear career path for them. So I see there are many reasons to have retention as a trigger driver for people. And compliance. Many of our companies today we work with live under automotive, medical companies, and so on. They need compliance. Can we document who is trained in what, when, and how?
And by who?
And by who in that sense also. Which completes the whole circle of transparency, I should say.
Yes.
Good. And this is where you see the link, because when you do the combined organization development and skill development together with the system design, that's actually where the power comes through here, hitting all 5 here almost. Yeah. Yeah. The one of the cases that we worked on together, both JM and BTP, is Anders here, who is an extremely good friend of the house for both of companies, and a good driver on talking about training systems. He got into this company called Convatec. I'm just going to read what it says here because I think it's so clear the challenges we're standing against. There were many frustrating challenges. We had very long and unclear training periods, and the businesses were vulnerable because critical knowledge were concentrated in just a few people. And we also saw inconsistency in product quality, as everyone was trained differently. And on top of that, we had a terrible competence matrix in Excel. I see John, you're smiling. Yeah. This is truly what we meet sometimes coming into a company, and hearing this from Anders on, that was the current situation there. So thinking about the slides we just went through, we're talking about random training, not led by leaders, Excel sheet, training is put down right, but also looking at what problems we can fix with it. If it's done correctly, we can lift the business. So our learning has been, we need to link it to the business objective, both on strategic level, but also on operations level, ensuring that everybody can see the value in it. So the site manager can see value, the leaders of leaders can see value, the leaders see value, and also the trainers see value. So in that sense, making it business-driven is a key driver here. So let's go through the roles. And the roles we're going through here is seen in our organization who is in operation modes with training. So it takes time to go from not having a strong training organization to getting a strong training organization. Of course, that takes time. So what we'll try to describe here is it when it's in operation mode. So a learning from us is that the more clear things is, the more commitment we get to it. So when leaders know their roles and responsibilities, it's so much easier to live it. The clarity of that. So let's go through it slowly, step by step. What we see here on the screen is organization diagram. We have the site manager, we have the leaders of leaders. We have the leaders where both employees and trainers report to the leader. Then we have the training support function over here. That's a support function reporting to the site manager. Then we see dotted lines, which is about leading task. It's not direct leadership or management. You can say it's more task leadership here. And we have a dotted line with an arrow between the trainer and the employee. But we have kind of this business-driven training, making sure we lift the employee to lift the job. The colors on it, there's a light green color on every role here. The light green color indicates time consumption. Of course, this depends on location and company we're in. But it also shows it's not a full-time job for the site manager, the leaders or leaders and leaders. The training support function, depending on size of organization, can be a part-time role for somebody in the organization, but it can also be 5, 10 people or hundreds of people working with training support full-time. So it truly depends on the organization size. The job trainers, our learning is that the job trainers are not good if they have full time on training, because then they lose the knowledge of their work. So it's probably less than 50%. Most companies live between 20 and maybe 10%, I would say, for the trainer's role in here. We always recommend to have a smaller span of control for the trainers instead of have a high span of control than full-time trainers. A good span of control, our learning is around 5, maybe 7 people. And if it's very easy task, it can maybe be up to 10 people. But our clear recommendation is around 5 people to be full control. Yeah. But let's go through the roles and see what's on the. So the site management need to ensure that they're part of the strategic choice here in the training organization, ensuring the training setup delivers on the current operation needs, but also the future business needs. When they look 3 years ahead in the Hushin planning, are we building new sites? Are we expanding with new products? Can we actually handle that change that's coming with the setup you have today? They also need to ensure that the setup they make, the system they make, is supporting the culture they want. What values are they driving the business? How do they take decisions throughout the organization? So this system design is pretty important in relation to the culture, because we know culture follows the system. So they have to be part of this development, co-development with the organization on why we're doing this, what the organization does that demand, what competencies does that demand that organization, and what is the gap. So the whole strategic work here in designing it. Most organizations we come into is this not agreed on at all. We cannot read about the training system. We cannot talk with the leaders about it. And when we ask leaders about it, they don't know the training setup. So this is crucial that when we start our process, they actually work with the site management team on defining this and understanding what it is and what it's not. The training support function is a function that enables leaders and job trainers by coordinating, improving training structure, tools, and materials. They really work with the organization. They're not supposed to hand over or take over. Coming into companies that not that mature on training yet, we often see that it's driven by a training support function, that they take over on it, which means that they take all the work from the leader and say, I want to do good and I do all this, but then they fails when they leave. It's very unsustainable. The most important job for the training support function is actually to get the organization to do the work and then support with the support functions. A lot of work in TM that's good for support. There's also support for the trainers and make sure that templates are the right places. But we cannot outsource our leadership, meaning process confirmation or training timetables, to a support function. That is purely a leadership job. The same goes for who actually selects a job trainer. That's also a leadership job. The leaders of our leaders are actually the person who makes it all happen. They ensure that it's aligned. They ensure that the leaders are on board, meaning they help the leaders, they grow the leaders into good leaders. Our learning is that the first line leader many times struggle with taking that decision. Should we fix the problem today or tomorrow? And our learning is that it's actually very difficult for them to take this decision because they're often measured on output today and not tomorrow, which means they always prioritize today and doesn't think into the training system and build the training into the problems. I was actually just at a company here lately where they've been doing the same problems for almost 100 years, but they still don't have time to go in and train it. And I do believe that's part of it, us pushing some of these decisions to the first line leader that maybe actually should be taken by the second line leader. So something about postponing training and not doing training is often not a good decision to put on the first line, but that's something we take on the second line. And then in dialogue with the first line, we can take this later on. So some of these decisions needs to be done in the architecture of driving a training organization. The leaders of leaders are a coach, a support to the leaders in the training organization, which means there's also leader-centered work in board meetings, check-ins, follow-up on KPIs, going together with the leaders, helping to process confirmation, coaching of trainers, meaning enabling them in what's difficult in the training organization. Yep. The leaders are the frontline leaders here, the first line leader. So they're responsible for execution of the training. That also means helping trainers make breakdowns, making timetables, coaching the trainers, doing process confirmation. but mostly important, also selecting what jobs to train. Because you can train everything, yes. But where do we need to train first? Is it on the changeover? Is it on the cleaning process? If it's the cleaning process, then where in the cleaning process do we make mistakes? So we ensure that the training time we use is also value-adding. So there's always two conflicts in this system here. One is to get the time for training. That's the first conflict. The second conflict is, are we using the time correctly when we have the time? So that's part of this important role of the leaders to help this. They actually enable the training on the front line. They do. Getting the trainers here, they're part of the development of the trails. They're part of that because we want to involve them so they also own it when they go train it. So of course, when they train people, it's for safety, quality, efficiency. So in that sense, they have a huge role in here. Once we selected the trainers, we want to take care of them. Because if you do a startup of a training organization and you don't treat them good, and they then quit the role, then it's going to be very hard to get another role in, another person in here. So we have to be sure we pick the right people from the beginning here in a training organization. So the setup here, there's much more to it, making clear roles and responsibilities. But having a picture of what is the site management role, the purpose of that, the purpose of the leaders of leaders, the purpose of the training function, the purpose of the leader's role, and the trainer's role needs to be clear. From here, you go much more into responsibilities on who's responsible for what. But having the high-level picture is extremely important in the beginning. Mapping this out, the roles and responsibilities, is something we always start with, ensuring that we have the buy-in from the site manager on roles and responsibilities. Moving on from the different roles to more the processes that are in the training organization. So having the roles and responsibilities in place is one thing, but then looking at the core processes that actually drive the training organization. It has to be systematical. It has to be written down, the processes here, to make it sustainable. Most organizations we come into, it's very unclear, the process. When we ask the question, who's deciding what to train in? Who is actually taking decision on the training timetable? Who is and who is and who is? It's very often unclear, which means it's very difficult to sustain. And as everything else is difficult to describe first, of course it is, and it takes time. For without standards, we cannot improve it. So let's say we write down that we do this way, but if we learn them 2 weeks later, then we can improve it and we can train it again and sustain it. So there's something in this wheel here that even though it's not the most sexy thing to do, it's probably one of the most important things to do also in a training organization. So when we make the processes here, we want to make it clear and put in roles and responsibilities together with that. So one thing is to make the process, another thing is to connect it with roles and responsibilities. So it needs to be a clear purpose. There needs to be defined input-output. Assign roles. You can't use Raski. You can also use other models. Raski is just the one we use. You also need to ensure that your process that you build will impact the performance. You can easily do process where you create training for training. One of that could be on the KPIs that we measure on. Sorry. One of the examples we've seen lately here on process design is that if you measure on the wrong KPI, which is also part of the process you build in, it could be we measure on the hours on training. If we use, let's say, standard 2 hours a week or 6 hours a week on training, that can be good, but it cannot stand alone. That needs to be compared with something on process output also, ensuring that the training doesn't only become about doing hours, but the hours spent is also improving the business. So they has to go together with a business objective. Otherwise, leaders will find it demotivating and start training on something that's not value adding, which is an extreme big problem in many organizations. Yeah. Here we listed some of the core processes that's good to handle in the training organization, like identification of training needs, the training timetable or the role matrix, selection of training method. Even though that I come from BTP and we do promote a lot the job instruction, it cannot handle all jobs. There's of course knowledge trainings and skills trainings and so on. So selecting the right method for the right objectives. We need to select, develop, and evaluate job trainers. Select, develop, and approval of training timetables, training materials, and so on. So all these processes here is good to consider. It doesn't have to be carved in stone and made in long descriptions, but similar matrix here on ASCII can handle it to begin with, have that clear understanding. So it minimum have the responsibility in place. Yeah. Yeah. So that was the processes we're talking about in a training organization. We have the roles, responsibilities. We talked about the processes. Moving into some of the details processes. One of the things that we worked a lot on in BTP is how do we spot the trainer talents. And most organizations we come into and we start to say that people have to apply for this. You cannot poke the person, they need to apply for this. The first response is normally, but we don't have people who want to. And that's actually a different problem we need to fix. Because if we don't trust our leaders that will handle us good, then of course we need to start there, that they want to help us. So building that trust in there. And that could also be where there is a combination of job instruction, job relations that we can talk about, that people want to follow our instructions. But definitely our learning is once we communicate and we talk more about the role we're looking for, so we understand the profile, then it's easier to talk to the profile, and it's also easier to get people to apply because we talk their language at the time. So selecting the right trainers is more for long-term and ensuring prosperity. So why does it matter to pick the right person? So I can say from my experience, in one of the companies I worked, we did almost a half-year analysis of the factories I worked with. We were out listening to leaders, trainers, employees, and also site management. And I also saw a lot of trainings. This company was a global company where some of the global trainers, I observed them train. So one of the trainers traveled to location, and I saw him train and was just observing. And as soon as the employee made a small mistake, he took over and just pushed him to the side. Let me do it now. And he did the job. And he did that with all the trainings I saw that week. The reality was he did not train anybody. He did the work all the time. And the factory had to call him over again and again and again because they didn't learn. So here he was blaming the operators for not learning. But reality was he did not train good. So they couldn't learn from him. So his motivation was to perform himself. His motivation was not to have other people perform. And that's definitely one of the biggest things we see in a good trainer profile is to help others perform. I get shiny eyes from helping other people. So that was part selecting the wrong person. And of course, that had a lot of consequences on culture because the wrong trainer talks down to people. They're stressed and it pushes people. This also gets the new employees coming in, they become demotivated. Experienced people don't want to be trained by the person and so on. So they can have a lot of consequences. My learning is there's a lot of the good profile out there who wants to be trainers. We just need to talk to them. So let's look what we actually were looking for in a trainer. What are we looking for in a trainer? Actually, Peter, right now, let's go. So these are the 5 competencies we're looking for, or abilities. The cognitive skills, can we break down a job and make structure of it? Of course, that's important if you want to improve a job, that we can see a job, break it down and make structure of it. Communication skills, body language, clear tone, understandable. Our social attitude, do we respect other people? Do we act as a role model? Do we live the company's values? Work attitude, do we follow through? Do we give in? So as a trainer, we need to be persistent because sometimes students will be unsecure and give up. We need to be persistent in helping them achieve their objectives. It is motivating grow other people, right? So in this sense, the trainer mindset has to be clear. And training is part of my job. It is not operations or training. It is training is part of my job. So these are the things we're looking for when we look for a trainer. We do help them so they want to apply for the role. We communicate good. We talk to the profile. We give them time to apply for it. They can either apply verbal or written. If they get into the conversation, the interview, we build an interview here based on 3 things. First is the questions, talking about experience, understanding of training, being a role model, why they apply for the role, why they want to be a trainer, and so on. It's around a half hour. Then there are 2 exercises. The first exercise is to test their cognitive ability. Can they make structure of something? So in this exercise, we have an Excel sheet. Sorry, not an Excel sheet. We have a sheet with a text on how to make coffee. And this coffee exercise, the text is all around. Makes no sense when reading it. So they have to cut it out or put numbers on the side or cut it out and make flow of it. And this flow here is to test their cognitive abilities. After that, they need to train somebody in making this coffee exercise. So there are 2 elements. Of course, there's a structure, but also communication exercise. That's the first one. The second exercise is what we call the Lego exercise, but it's a pure communication exercise. So imagine that I'm the candidate. I get the building manual, and John gets the bricks. He's one of the interviewer, but there's a wall between us, so we cannot see each other. Which means I need to communicate with John how to build this model without seeing him. And here there can come a lot of good things out of that. Seeing their communication skills. Where do they start? How do they communicate? What do they say? Are they starting to say, you need to put the red blick on the black one, there's 2 dots and 4 dots and so on? Or do they explain, you have to build a spaceship? And imagine yourself flying out in space. It's a blue spaceship. Yep, and so on. So that's kind of, are we talking in pictures to begin with? Are we going directly for the details? Are there questions on as they go along? How does it look at your side, John? Can you explain how it looks at your side and so on? Or is it just push, push, push? So there are many, many details we can see here. And we don't have time to go into all of them, but these are some of the examples we see. And spotting the train abilities here is much smarter than after the training. Because after their training, we'd add value to it. They're part of the team. And if they don't fit into the role, it's bad for the employees, it's bad for the trainers, and it's bad for the leaders because they don't get the right KPIs. So learning is, it's good to be a little bit slow here. Set the team first, find the right trainers, and then we develop them. It's bad learning to actually just put people for training, go to the training, and then they drop out. That's extremely expensive for everybody and not very fun. So we talked about the roles, the processes, we talked about selection process. Now we're moving into how to build training build quality into the training process itself. So the jobs we train, there needs to be a good standard. We need to be able to train it and have good relations with the employees, which are all 3 elements that is taught in TWI. It's kind of the foundation for stable and a people-centric training system. It's all about the people. So looking at the modules there are in TWI, and we're just going to touch on lightly today also. It is about creating standards. It is about training standards. It's about sustaining standards. So all about standards here. So if you want a quality process for training, we recommend all these programs. We don't recommend them at the beginning. We recommend doing one at a time. Most companies start with job instruction, the ability to teach it. Here we learn basically how to break down a job so we can communicate it, how to train it, and how to make a training timetable. These three elements has proven to be extremely good, both during 1940s and Second World War, post the war in different countries, here among Japan, where we know the best case from Toyota, but also many other companies around the world in cases. Job relations is a good program to teach supervisors how to get fellowship on the standards. So normally say, treat your people good so they want to follow your instructions, which is the connection between job instruction and job relations. For me, job relations is also a piece in about sustaining the standard in a positive way. Job method is how we improve the standard. And it teaches supervisors on the front line how to see the details in the process, how to improve the details in the process by asking questions and connecting that to improvement, and linking it to how to sell it into the management team to get approval of a new standard, which again then needs to be trained and sustained. So these core programs here are key in getting good quality training. And quality training means a good standard, good structure of training, and good relations. It all connects here for the training organization. The organization we work with, most of them, they start with job instruction for their trainers. We work with one of the companies, actually another company now is moving in that direction. And starting with having good job trainers, and then having the vision of moving them into the team lead role. So job trainers start with job instruction. They learn how to get fellowship for one employee. They train the process. They break it down. Once that's settled in, they master the skill of this. Adding on job method or job relations in one or the other order, they can then take the full role of the team lead. Of course, other programs as other lean tools or being learner in Kata is also good for the team leader here. But taking that skill development step by step, so instead of giving titles, you first give skills and then titles. So making sure that they are in flow in their development is good here, step by step by step. But we have that picture of the team lead at Toyota that ensures circular flow with their team of 5 people. So we talked about the roles, the processes,
Yes.
spot the talent, TWI programs, building in quality you train. What about process confirmation? For us, process confirmation is kind of the leader role. We know that many organizations, they actually outsource this to other functions. We call it differently if other function does it. So if a quality department goes out, they can do follow-up work. If it's kind of the training department, they can also do follow-up. If I'm a job trainer, I do follow-up. But the one who does process confirmation is also the one who does the evaluation on the training timetable or skills matrix, which is a leadership responsibility. So it's difficult to outsource that because that's employee evaluation also. So even though we look at the process and we improve the process and improve the system, I also need to come some kind of way evaluate my employees as a leader. So this process here is something that was funny.
Yeah.
There are.
Yes.
Yeah. The project confirmation is, of course, the leader's daily work. So project confirmation is something I do when I'm in Gemba, meaning I'm out there where the value happens. So I need to go out where value happens. I often hear that leaders don't have time because they're sitting behind desk and leading behind the desk, or they're in meetings and doing some big decisions that they need to do. But if I, as a leader, am not with my people, I cannot lead my people. I cannot evaluate who's doing the right thing, where do we need to improve the process, where do we need to improve the system. So it's important that I'm out there getting this learning. So what happens if we don't involve our leadership? We don't get followership on the standards. Trainers are left alone, which means they're afraid to go out and train because they are standing alone. The drive-by that we do the training, check the box, but we don't follow through, meaning we get real standard work. I was actually in an organization long ago where they did some trainings up, but leaders did not do process confirmation. So then employees were like, yeah, but then we also only have to do it. It's like always, they don't care about us. So changing that back to something that actually show we care. So process confirmation needs to be done with the heart. I'm going out to train the organization and help the organization to learn what I can do to improve the daily work of the employees. So instead of it's a stress process, it's a positive process. Once the leaders see that and they're proper trained in it, they also like to do it. But if they're not proper trained and they don't see the purpose behind it, it's difficult to get time to do it. So in the picture here, we have the opposite situation that we desire. It's an old picture here from Denmark that was drawn many years ago. And the situation is kind of between a teacher and a student. And this is the opposite that we want when we look at process confirmation. Because here the picture, of course, indicates shame and guilt. And that's the opposite what we want. If people cannot follow the standard, of course, we help them so we can follow the standard. Maybe we need to improve the standard. Maybe we need to train a different way. And maybe we need to talk about relations and leadership. So there are many things we can look at here. But definitely this picture is not what we're going for. It's just to describe the opposite of what we're looking for. That's it. But it is a structured way to confirm standards are followed. If we follow the standard, we follow the safety, we follow the quality, and we do also in the right takt time. So that's part of the process confirmation ensuring. When we can do that, we are competent, I can do the job on my own. If I cannot do the job on my own, I can do the job with support, or I'm in training. If I'm in training, I'm in training for real. If I do the job with support, my coach is doing follow-up with me, which means they are in follow-up process. As soon as they can do the job correctly and safely and consensuously, then we check the box and the leader can go into process confirmation and confirm that trainer has done a good job in training. So that's kind of part of this. That's part of this whole circle. We say in job instruction, if the person hasn't learned, the instructor hasn't taught. And in process confirmation, we add on, and the leader has not created the right conditions. So of course, the leader needs to create the conditions to look at that. Yeah. So now we've gone through some of the structure here, and I've been trying to push a little bit with time, ensuring we have a lot of time to actually go through the platform. Because I do believe many times we go into organization, it is based on Excel sheet first in BTP, and that's good to get started. I'll of course prefer to see it. We started together with Chamber also, so we don't need to clean up the Excel sheet afterwards. But to sustain a training organization, ensuring real data and that you are in control. Our learning has been in these 3 cases we now see together. It has a huge impact on sustainability. So I can only recommend listen carefully to what John has to say here. It's gold. So John, I'll hand it over to you for the product demo. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. This is right. Yes, the demo this afternoon would be a live demo. But first, I would like to give you a short view into the architecture of the platform. because the platform has these three main silos: training execution, skill management, and training management. Looking into training execution, the platform offers interactive and operational tools for trainers and trainees in an easy-to-use and shop floor-friendly format. One part of the platform is the skill management, that is tools for team leaders and managers to get a clear picture of current skills and to initiate training of needed skills. And last but not least, we have the training management part, that is the package of tools that specialists and training managers need to create and structure training material. I'll just go back to this organization just to give you a view of where we see the platform. Because in the live demo, we will see the platform first of all from the employee, then we see it from the job trainer or the mentor, as we call it in the platform. Then we see it from the leader or the team manager, and then we see it from the training support function. And last but not least, I will give you some examples of some managerial dashboards that builds on the data that we collect through the platform. The first thing you will see here, I'll just take in front of on the computer. The first thing you see here is how it looks when I log into the platform as an employee. In this case, it is Maria, who's an employee at Manufacturing Limited here. And what she sees in here are the two roles or job functions that she has been given. She's been given a role of employee at Manufacturing Limited, and she has been given a role of machine operator. And what she sees here is the progress on each of these roles. She can see that in both roles, her mentor is her colleague, Marco, and she can see that the training is planned to initiate at the 5th of May and ended on the 3rd of May. And this one is on the 5th of May and to be ended on the 6th of June. This is the first overview that she gets when she logs onto her training plan. She can also see that she has two critical untrained elements as a part of this role. I will go back to that. I will come back to that. So this is what she sees when she logs on. I just open the training plan here as a machine operator, and this shows the main areas that Maria has to be trained in to be able to perform this role as machine operator. So she needs to be trained in safety in the machine area, machine A, general quality procedures, technical documentation, and so forth. What we mainly see here is that the training areas, or the modules as we call them, that is equipment and processes. Opening this element, the machine A, I can show you the different ways that we can collect the acknowledgement of training. So what we see here is that these are the elements that Maria has to be trained in order to perform machine A correctly. So she has to be trained in safety, how machine A works, material flow, maintenance, settings and adjustments, and typical errors and problems. Out here in this column, we have a number of symbols, check marks, padlocks, and so forth. If there is a check mark out here, then this element, how machine A works, this element, Maria herself can acknowledge for having received the proper training. She can as well acknowledge that she has got the correct training for material flow in machine A. Maintenance for machine A has a padlock, so Maria cannot herself sign for this element. She can see that it is her mentor or her trainer, Marco, that should do the training and should acknowledge for Maria's understanding of this element. This one up here, safety in relation to machine A, that is George. George is probably an expert on machine A, and it's always George that performs the training in safety, and it's always George that acknowledges that the employee has got the necessary understanding. Settings and adjustment here has a pen, and this is because we here not only ask Maria to acknowledge by a click, but also to sign for having received the necessary training. And the last one down here is an element with expiration. It's an element that Maria herself can acknowledge, but when she does that, it starts a countdown here, and it says 364 tomorrow and 363 the day after. 30 days before expiration, it turns yellow, and after that, it turns red. And then we have a leader's view where I can look into my department and I can see, do I have employees in my department which have elements with expiration in their training plans that are either on their way to expire or already has expired. So this is how we collect the acknowledgement or the signing for each of these training elements. In the column here, we have the possibility of putting content into each of these training elements. How machine A works is just a on-the-job training element without any description, but we can also give just a few keywords to the mentor or to the trainer and to the employee, telling them that when they go through safety in relation to the machine, they have to go through emergency stops, safety switches, and dangerous areas, for instance. Another possibility is to have documents within the platform, or we can also link to documents in SharePoint, for instance, so that the latest updated document always is a part of the training plan. There's also a possibility, as you can see here, for having videos into the platform. I'll show you later how easy it is to put videos into the platform once you have decided the structure and once you have decided what elements should be contained or should be a part of each of these roles. So in very short, this is how it looks when you log into your training plan in the Champ platform as an employee. It must be very simple to operate, because this training is done in the day in the daily operations. So it should be as easy or easier than just signing on a printed training plan.
So you're sitting here with your phone gun, right?
Yes.
So they can use a phone, they can use a tablet, they can use a computer, right, to log in on.
They can.
Whatever they need to.
Yes.
It's adaptable to everything.
You're right.
So it's just like pen and paper here.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, I would like to show you how this looks seen from the perspective of Marco, who's the mentor or the trainer of Maria. But of course, Marco is also an employee in this company. So when he logs onto the platform, what he sees at first is exactly the same as Maria sees, exactly the roles that he has been given in this company. Marco is a more experienced employee, so he has a larger number of roles than Maria has, but we can recognize this employee and the machine operator role. Just to show you that when I click into and open the machine operator role here, it is exactly the same training plan that is behind this role as the one that Marco is taking Maria through as a mentor. But he has an access to all the details, all the instructions, all the guidelines, so he can go back to find them again after he has been trained. More interesting is this symbol down here with the two colleagues. And this is where Marco has an access to the training plans of the colleagues that he is responsible for training. So instead of having these two outprinted training plans, one for Maria and one for Michael, he has here access to a digital and always updated version of Maria's training plan or training program. So when he clicks here at the machine operator under Maria, then it is the mentor's copy of Maria's training plan that he has access to, and that is always updated. So the elements that we, on behalf of Maria, just has signed for, Marco can see that while he has been doing other jobs, Maria has been through these elements as a part of her training program for Machine A. And this element that was former locked, seen from the point of view of Maria, is now open. So Marco can sign here when he has done the training and when Maria has got the necessary understanding for maintenance for Machine A. This element up here, safety, that is still locked, also seen from the perspective of Marco and the mentor, because that's always George that has to do this training and to sign for the completion. Marco now has a task to bring George and Maria together so that they can complete the training and complete and sign for the completion of this element as well. So this is very simple how it looks when you are a mentor and you have the responsibility of training some of your colleagues. You have an access to an always updated training plan for those colleagues that you have the responsibility for. We have a functionality that we call champ links. This is the symbol down here. And this is where we get direct access to a number of instructions. If I look into Machine A here, for instance, the platform automatically gives this module, Machine A 3-letter code, and as well it gives all of these elements a 3-letter code. So when I am in this function area of the champ link, all I have to do is tap these 3 letters to get immediate access to these areas. And I can see here that when I'm standing at Machine A, I have to click here F W X, and when I do that, I get access to all the instructions or nodes that are a part of Machine A, and I get access also to this element settings and adjustment for Machine A. If I instead tab EEQ, I get the access directly into this video that are settings and adjustments for Machine A. And I have the link here that connects me to the SOP that is in SharePoint, for instance. So that's the functionality that gives you a direct access to the relevant instructions at a place where, or at a piece of equipment.
And there could also be a job breakdown.
It could, yes, it could, yeah. Absolutely. Yes, the last thing I will show you here is this pen down here. This is where Marco is able to put content into the platform. He's got the ability to change the content in machine A, and we can recognize the elements here: safety, how machine A works, material flow, and so forth. Then now Marco would like to, for instance, put a video into this element, how machine A works. When he taps it here, he gets this the possibility of putting content into the element. And when tapping here at add a video and take video, the camera opens and he can now take a video and put this video as a content into this element. And now it has been uploaded to this element, and now it starts to convert this Apple video file into a file that is also recognized on tablets and PCs. So you can already see now that there's been a symbol here that shows you there is now a video on this element in this training plan. So this is how it looks seen from the perspective of the employee, and it's how it looks seen from the perspective of the mentor or the trainer. I would like now here to show you how it looks seen from the perspective of the leader. And I will log into this here. Yes. So what you see here is that we have logged on as Casper, and Casper is the team leader or the leader of department North Day Shift. And when he logs into the platform, what he is presented with is this role matrix that shows him the roles that he have in his organization and all the employees that he has in his organization. And he has an overview here that tells him which employees are capable of performing which of the roles. You can have a role on 3 levels. You can be in training, you can be qualified, or you can be experienced. Qualified and experienced is solely a management decision. There are no automatics in this platform. It's the team leader or the manager who decides which persons are qualified and which persons are experienced. Often the difference between qualified and experienced is that an experienced employee is often an employee that is qualified to perform the role, but also an employee that we would use in training situations as a mentor or as a trainer. What we see here is the training that we saw a while ago, because we have here Maria, who is in training at the employee role and a machine operator role. And putting the cursor over here, we can see that they are 75% through this training plan, and we can see when the start date is and when the end date is. And this one is red, instead of this one, which is green, and that indicates here we have critical elements that are not completed. If I, as a manager, would like to know what are the 75% that they have completed, or maybe the 25% that they haven't completed, then I get this management or team leader copy of Maria's training plan. And that is, of course, always updated. So what I can see here is that Maria on machine A has completed 5 out of 6 elements. I can see that there is still one open element here. And I can also get all the details. Now this demo has been used a number of times, but just to show you that we log all history, all changes in training status on each of these elements. So I can see here that this has been completed by Maria on this date and on this hour, and I can see whether it has been reset or retrained. An element like this has 12 months of expiration, and often it will be trained after 10 months. And then you just sign in and acknowledge for a retraining, and then a new countdown starts by the 365 days. So we log all the changes that are in each of these training elements. You have also the possibility of putting goals into each of these roles. In this relation here with machine operator, then Casper has a goal of 9 employees. That is the number of employees that he needs to have the right capacity in his department. And the platform here tells me that I have already 8, and I have 1, which is 1 person, 1 employee in a training program. So I just have to complete this training program, and then I have the necessary number of employees. If I put this to 10, then it tells me I have 8. 1 is already ongoing training, and I need to put just another employee into the training program to reach my goal of 10 employees. Yes, some of our clients, they have some product groups or equipment that they use very seldom. So it would be very often a waste of time and a waste of effort to make sure that all the machine operators also were capable of producing, for instance, product group X and product group Y, or were able of performing machine C and machine D. So instead of that, we have the possibility of putting these extra or supplementary modules onto the role, and we can decide that in this connection here, James should not only have the role of machine operator, but he's also the person who is able of producing products from group X and group Y.
John?
Yeah.
Is it okay? There's a question here from one in the chat.
Yeah.
And the question is from Erik. And Erik asks, can you create dependencies with training tasks? E.g., I want the safety training to be done before processing the training on the machine. Is that okay? Can you make an order in it?
I can make an order, but I cannot have any dependencies not within the role. What we very often see is that the fundamentals, which for instance could be safety, that is put into a separate role. So that is the first role that you give to the employee on the day where he or she starts. And then you make sure that all the training that is in this role is being done. And then you select what are the other roles, the other roles that the employee should have after having received this fundamental training.
Yeah. But I think also that's where you're very sharp in Champ in making sometimes the big role into smaller roles, so you actually can have a progression.
Yeah.
So like you say here, that there could be safety first, but it could also be other general information they have first, and then the next step, and next step, and next step, which maybe in the past was being a operator, but that's maybe now 6 or 7 roles you go through in the process of becoming that experienced operator.
Yes.
Some of the jobs maybe take first 3 months, and other jobs takes years to learn actually in that role.
Yep.
Is that okay, Erik? Answer on your question, or did we understand your question?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. So this is the, you could say, the daily overview that Kasper uses to make sure that he has the right number of employees in each of these roles. Up here, I have the possibility of changing between a matrix point of view or a timeline point of view. In the timeline point of view, I focus only on the ongoing training programs, and this is how it looks. I get this timeline showing me that I have 2 training programs for Maria, one in the employee role and one the machine operator role, and I have a training on Michael Patterson on the robot operator role. And what I see here is when the training is planned to start and when it's planned to end. And I can just remove this one, and this shows me this is today. And when this red line is within the light green area, we are a bit behind. And when it is in the dark green here, we are on schedule, or actually in this case, we are in front of the time plan. And when I use this for my daily or weekly follow-ups with Marco as a mentor, I can here say what has the progress in the training been for the last week. So this gives me a very factual basis for having this follow-up with Marco and decide, do we have to do anything different to make sure that Maria is trained and done with her training at the time that we have planned? For Maria here, it looks as if this is okay. It looks as if we can handle to have the training done within the time span. Down here at Michael, it looks as if this is another situation, and maybe we have to decide that that Marco has to be relieved from some of his other tasks, so that he can use more time in training Michael and make sure that the training of Michael is ended at the time where we decide that it should be ended. So this is this very factual overview that I can use to make these daily or weekly follow-ups on the ongoing training programs in my department. Yes, I would like to show you another overview here. This is what we call element status. So in this, we have all elements on all training programs for all employees. So that is just all the elements. What is more interesting is that I have the possibility of connecting other filters, so that I only see elements with a certain status, or elements from a certain role, or elements on certain persons. And then I have the possibility of saving these filters. And I have saved a filter here that I have called training expiration. And when I click on this one, I get this actual picture of the number of employees in my department, in Kasper's department, where the element either has expired or is on its way to expire. So I have here two persons, Emma and Michael, both on this typical errors and problems. Emma's has expired for 7 days, and this one is going to expire in 7 days. So I have this overview of my employees so that I can make sure that they are all trained in these elements with expiration. Another filter, which is critical non-completion, then here it shows me all the employees in my department that have critical elements that are not completed. So that could be in a connection with an external audit, for instance, and then I know that I have to make sure that these 4 elements are trained before we have this external audit. So that is another view as a team manager or as a leader of a department. I would like to show you for the last thing here, which is how we build roles in this platform. This is a part of the training support function. I would like here to add a role, and I would like to add a temp. This is a role that I do not have, so I create this role. The temp is now a role in Department North. It is a new role, so that is, of course, so far it's empty. As when there are 3 dots out here, I have the possibility of doing something, and I have the possibility of designing the content of this temp role. So now I have on my desk here, I have the temp role, which is empty, and I have the machine operator role as we know it, safety, machine A, machine B, general quality procedures, and so forth. And now I have the possibility of reusing these modules. So as a temp, I would say you have to know something about general safety. And this is the module that I already have. So now I just connect this existing module also to the temp role. And the temp should work on machine A, and that is also an module that I have already existing in the platform. What happens here is that the platform here says to me, to Kasper, you're now connected general safety and machine A to a new role, to the temp role. What are the elements that are a part of general safety should also be a part of the temp training program. General safety, it probably ought to be all 4, but looking into machine A, you could say that as a temp, you need to know something about safety, and you need to know something about material flow, and you need to know something about typical areas. But maintenance and settings and adjustment, you do not need to know as a temp, because you're always working together with more experienced machine operators. So this is just to show you that we can build roles out of existing modules. When I go back to the role matrix here, I would like to give this temp role to Maria. Now, it would have been more natural if she had started in the temp role and we experienced that she is good, so we would like to keep her as an employee and then give the machine operator role. But when I give her this role, I have to select a mentor, and that is Marco. I select a starting date, and I select a date to be through. And when I push the confirm button here, what happens is that the training plan for the temp role is now visible, seen from the perspective of Maria, and it is visible seen from the perspective of Marco as well. And what is more interesting is that we have just given Maria this role, but we can see that she's already 85% through the role. And that is because most of the elements that we have put into the temp role here are the same as the elements that we have just signed for up here in Maria's machine operator role. But that indicates that if we had started Maria in the temp role, decided to give her the machine operator role, then she would not, in the machine operator role, start from zero, but all the elements that are the same elements in the temp role and in the machine operator role, they have already been signed for in the machine operator role as well. And if there are elements with expiration, then the expiration starts at the time when Maria has been trained in the temp role, because the platform doesn't care in which context that the sign has been done. It knows that this specific element has been trained by Maria or for Maria at this specific date, and that is when the countdown starts. So this is how it looks seen from the perspective of the employee, from the perspective of the mentor or the trainer, seen from the perspective of the team manager, and how in a training support function uses this platform to build the different training programs. Now I would like to just show you another benefit, because all the data that we collect in this platform we can use in connection with different dashboards. So I have here examples of 3 dashboards where we collect data from the platform and give the site management or the production management, gives them an overview on different perspectives. This is a perspective that is guided to building flexibility in each of these 4-5 teams here. So this one shows me that I have in each of these teams, I have the sum of total goals. That is, if I, for instance, in team A have a role with a goal of 8 and a role with goal of 12 and a role with goal of 10, then this number here would be 30. So this is the sum of all goals on all roles in this team. And this one shows me that I have 33 plus 26. That's 59 gaps in my until I reach my total goal. And it tells me that out of these 59, the 26 are already started training programs, but I still have to start 33 new training programs to reach the flexibility or capacity goal in my department. On the other hand, I can see that I have 2 roles which are where goals are over, or the actual number is over the goal, and I can see that I have ongoing training programs in 14 roles, which is over goal. So maybe I could use some of this effort that I am using in training programs that are over goal, and then instead use these efforts to make sure that I set the right training programs in action so that I reach the goal that I have for my total department.
And I think, John, this is a very strong learning. I've done this, you explained this many times to both to myself and other people in the organization. The learning going into a management team and presenting a picture like this, but kind of the thing that are in control with training, they suddenly find out that behind the critical jobs we need to train, and we're training jobs we don't need to train, and we did not even proceed that much last week, right? So getting control with the data of the training, what's actually going on a detailed level, all the way from the trainer's point of view, all the way up here, having this point of view is extremely positive. I was saying gives clarity to those meetings we have with the site management team once a month, getting that clarity. Are we training the right things? Are we really pushing for the things we put in the strategy? We need to improve capacity or flexibility here, or consistency. So, thank you. Yeah.
Yep. So this is a dashboard that tells me, is it the right training programs that are actual in my department? The next one here shows me what are the capabilities or the ability in this department on team 1 here. What is this department's ability to accomplish and execute on the ongoing training programs? So this one shows me all the ongoing training programs here on team 5. These are planned, and this is training programs that has been done. So I can see here that there are 6 training programs that we have done in this period here, and I can see that in connection to what we call the standardized time, we could say that it must take 2 weeks or 3 weeks to go through this training program. I can see here that on the training programs that we have done in this period here, we used more than twice the time to come through or to accomplish these training programs. And this is the same number, but that is on ongoing training programs. And I can see here that as it looks at the moment, we are going to use more than 6 times the time period to get through these existing training programs. So this shows me, the first one shows me, have I started the right training programs? And this one shows me what is the organization's ability to execute on the training programs that we have set in motion. The last one here is the organization's ability to accomplish job training on specific training projects. And that could be a TWI focus, or it could be a safety focus. But what we do here is that in this training focus on TWI or on safety, we select the specific elements that's from the specific elements from the platform that is a part of this training project. And this shows me the progress in this training projects for the last months. I can see the progress week by week. This gives me an actual status on all the elements that is a part of this training program. It tells me what share has not been trained, what share has been trained, what share is about to expire, and what share is already expired. And this one tells me the number of persons in my department that are really done with this training. So 16 out of 25 persons are through this training TWI project. But this gives me an overview on specific elements, on specific training projects in the organization. It gives me this managerial overview. And then you have the possibility of looking into the same training project, safety, for instance, and see that across all your teams to see whether these the individual teams they are executing the right training in the right motion. Yes. I think
so this is seeing this, because there are other systems out there that's good for document handling. There's other systems out there for high-level HR learning management systems. But this is a true training management system designed to manage training on shop floor in operations and giving control to the site management team where we are we doing the right things in relation to our strategy. And I'm very pleased to see this, the connection here, looking at that, having the organization design and structure, roles, responsibilities, and find the right people, building in quality to training and all that, together with such a strong system like this, because it makes it so much easier to sustain once you have it digitalized. So this is really empowering each other. System without organization structure is like going to gym without membership.
Yep.
But on the other hand, having a qualified trainer, you still need structure and follow-up and support and clarity on all this that's going on. And it's been really cool to see how it's actually helped our clients. We have one case here, we brought us here, that's also described in an article. So you remember Anders, he was in the beginning frustrated with the situation and struggled with a Excel sheet, or a skills base that was inside an Excel sheet, training not led by leaders, peer training that was random. So all the things we talked about in the beginning that actually is a hinder for having benefits of having training. So we don't point the fingers to the employee and blame them for the mistakes in the organization. We take responsibility and look in, what do we need to do to improve our system and make sure that leaders drive it. So this case here is a combination of CHAMP, BTP, with all the elements we talked about today, combining that into a qualified training system. Not saying it's perfect, not saying there's been ups and downs, but I think that's the learning we're getting from here. So let's try and see what he actually said. So we're taking some of this out of the case. So one of his key learning was that leaders must take ownership of developing employees. It cannot be outsourced. And outsourced does not mean external, but it means internally. To support functions, we cannot outsource the responsibility for that. They can consult, they can inform, they can support and all that, but they cannot take the ownership of it. Leaders have the pain of good or bad training in the training system, so they need to drive it. What did they do? They created a business case for the training organization. What does it look like today? What results does it give us today? Being very clear on that. Describing the organization today, either as built on intent or not intent. What are the roles, responsibilities? What process do we have in place? How do they actually train? Go look, see. How do we train today? And so on. Understanding the current system and what results it gives. And describing the future system we would like to test out and what results we expect that to give. So we have a current state, future state, then we can work towards it and calculate the business case of that. Leadership are trained. They understand all the elements of it. They can run with it. So we give them capabilities to actually do it. Leaders select their trainers together with support function. They're trained, they're evaluated, confirm they can actually use the training materials and develop training materials and support the training organization. Champion introduced for structure to scale and sustain it for long term, but also to kind of give the management team a way to actually control it. Because without data, where are we? So in that sense, that's part of it. So long story short, over the time we worked with them, they reduced onboarding from 1 month, actually from a month to 1 week. The process we work with, the areas we work with, product reduction, 20% in variation, which is pretty good in a process company. Clear training roles, there's ownership from the leadership, and a culture shift. A good side benefit of more collaboration and more engagement. And we see that many, many times. Once we give them tools they can use and capabilities to talk together, it really improves the engagement and collaboration. Also between the partners that before was silos, could be maintenance operations actually working together in this sense. So another thing that Anna said is that we see a very strong synergy between the BTP and the GEM system. GEM makes it easy to scale and maintain consistency. So having this shop floor, we'll almost call it training management system that lives like pen and paper, where on your phone can click and you can see things. You can see the breakdown there, always updated. If I click on it, my manager can see that I got the skill now and so on. Or my trainer needs to sign it on the spot. That all that is linked together. It can link to any training document system you have and pull in data from it. So it doesn't replace that. It's just a shop floor system for training management. And I say just because it's actually extremely important, I would say. So impact on integration, we ensured structured roles and ownership. We don't bring with it, we co-develop with you. We kind of have experience, but we want you to do it, you to take the decisions, and we do sparring on it. GM goes in and create visibility, flow, and follow-up in the system. Leaders are empowered to lead, not just support. Trainers are based on mindset, not titles. We often see that people select the wrong trainers. We actually did a training at one company where one of the production managers was kind of like, why do we need to do this? And we went through the training, and after the end, he kind of said, I actually thought my A team was the ones creating the good things for me, but they're actually creating firefighting and problem solving. So actually, it was the B team, in his mind, he had to select as trainers. The one who's calm, takes care of people, wants to help people, structured, detail-oriented. Those are the good trainers that we want out there. Not the ones who runs out and says, I want to build a fire. We want the opposite, actually, to create the right culture. Job instruction are used to ensure quality in our training process. So all these elements are integrated together in the training system. So as Anna says it, this has led to a culture shift. We now help each other more, and we see people stepping up to solve problems. So we're talking about lean, we're talking about learning to see that if we see the problems, right, first we need to see it, but we also need to have the courage to handle it. So with these capabilities and systems and leader-led, employees dare to look at problems and actually start to execute on it, which I think is extremely beautiful because that whole system is about creating thinking people and problem solvers, I would say, on day to day. And hopefully, with time, it becomes proactive problem solving instead of reactive. So most of the companies we go into is reactive. We haven't trained, therefore we have mistakes. We have a lot of variability because we don't have training. Leaders are not leading it. We would like to move to the other side where we have proactive problem solving. So when people comes in, they're trained properly from the beginning in good standards, and they've been followed up and coached on the way so we don't drop out again, which means they can live the standards. So in that sense, that's kind of the combination of all of it together. The article, there's a link to it here if you would like to read the article. And then we also have a video you can send after the webinar here with Richard from ABL Beltec, who's going to speak about TWI and Champ also. For more learning about the cooperation between Champ and BTP, Morten and I have made an article here about from random training to business-driven training organization. We both come with some personal learnings, but also our backgrounds, what motivates us to go into this step here. about taking the culture we see in the sports world, where people look for training and quality training is very important, into business and get the culture in there, which I think is extremely important. Morten, he comes from a sailing world, and I come from rowing, which is both very disciplined, and we will say training is key element in winning the game, to be honest. So, and we also have a QR code there for the article there you can read. So this was an introduction to kind of the business-driven training organization with elements we've seen. It is needed and a short dialogue. In 2 hours, we cannot get into all the details. We would love to see from your angle, and if you would like to get some sparring on your specific situation, where you stand and input, then reach out to us. We will gladly do a free conversation with you and help you on your way. If you're looking for method, structure, leadership, ownership, the culture part and the people part, then reach out to BTP. Info mail is on the screen here now. If it's about the digitalization and getting control of data, which is so important, and the roles and all the things that Don was talking about here, reach out to Champ. The info mail is also here. And I guess the same is here.
Yep.
Good. If you would like to meet both of us, or maybe when Morten is well again, then just reach out, and we would love to set a meeting with you also and look at the situation and come with maybe some sparring on that input. We want to go from insights to impact. So let's start with the conversation. I think that's the message here.
Exactly.
Yeah. We hope that you found the time here evaluating, and that the input we gave here gave some reflections. We have a little bit time here. If somebody has a question, then just shoot. And if not, you're also welcome to send a mail afterwards or book a meeting for a conversation.
Absolutely.
But it could be somebody here who has a thought right now on a question.
Hey guys, thank you very much. This is Dirk van Rossum at Helena Industries. Hi John. Good question. So on the example that you showed with Anders' organization, how large was that organization, and how much time did it take to work through and get to the point where they got to with the results that they got since they started with the efforts with you guys?
So normally what we do is we have kind of a structured process for normal process to start out. So with Anders, we started with the management training with the management team.
Mm-hmm.
And then normally they use 6 to 8 weeks to prepare, both to prepare kind of the trainers who's going for the next level, but also designing the management system around training and making the A3 of the business case ready for both include the long-term one, but also the pilot ones. After that, we train the trainers and the supervisors in the first training. Then they work for maybe 6 weeks also to prepare pilot projects. So they kind of go in and practice the method, to make the training materials. It's written up in Champ and stuff like that. So we get that into to be ready. Then they execute the pilot project, which normally takes around 3 months, because we want to have real data, real results on it. So it's not just a drive-by. Mm-hmm. So already there, when they start the pilot projects, as soon as you start to train somebody, you start to see a culture shift.
Mm.
To make sure it sticks, it takes longer time. And I think that's a more sustainable part of it. And I think that's also where Anders is all, because Anders has actually done TWI implementation now in, let me count to get it correctly. I need to think now.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was number 3 company actually done it in. So the first 2 companies, he did not have Champ. So his learnings here with Champ and connecting that is truly what his learnings is on, that is much easier to sustain afterwards. So getting people started and motivated on kind of the quality of the training and the leader's roles, responsibilities is normally, and I should not say that because it's also extremely difficult to get leadership buy-in, but that's the easy part in my world compared to sustaining it. So as soon as you get the real data that's live, you can have another dialogue with the C-level. And that's where you kind of connect to sustainability. So the results in quality of training you can get pretty fast, but it's more the cascading and getting the real flexibility. So one of the clients we're working on together on the CHAMP system is a global company, and they've been using TWI for 15 years and CHAMP, I think, for several years also in that sense. And they can say that they've been looking at ramp-up sites going down dramatically because of this. So it just gives another flexibility, I would say. And I've never seen a tool like CHAMP that's such easy to use and gives such a good overview. Yeah. Sorry, there was maybe a long answer to your question. Did I hit some of your...
No, yeah, sure you did. I think the follow-up question, just to detail that out further. So the prep phase in the beginning, how much time does that take in a typical organization? So the piece
again?
The preparation phase, so the part that you do in getting the management team ready to start adopting this approach, and the roles and understanding the roles, defining the roles and so forth, before you truly get that working together. Because on the one hand, there's TWI J-Programs training, but if you don't connect it into the management system and a management system and a management team behind it, then it's not going to come alive. And that's what we've experienced. So I'm curious about understanding more about what is involved and how long does it take to get the management team and the management system equipped and then structured to actually adopt the roles that they should have.
Yeah. So see, a normal process is that somebody calls and says, we would like to have a training, right? And then we turn that around and we go through our enabling process. So before we do what we call a management training, which is a combination between the TWI and the things we talked about today. Before that, we've had several meetings with normally the lean partner and the management. So we have a lot of check-ins with them. And if it's a lean organization, we work on a strategic A3. Making sure we have the left side covered before we go for the management training. In the management training, they get insights and can take decisions on the right side. So, and I cannot say how long time that takes because some organizations are more mature than others. But as soon as we kick in with the management training, it's pretty structured. Then it's 6 to 8 weeks. They have to prepare the rest before we trigger the pilot team. If it's a large organization, there's probably a training before for middle leaders, and then you can say the front line. But that depends on how many layers there is. How we see it is kind of like we do the management team as a whole, and then we take a leg in the organization because we need to test it on frontline. But we cannot skip any layers on the way down there. So we're not taking the whole organization, but it's kind of one leg, a silo, or you can say a piece of the cake into the organization. But we are structured in, and I would say the 6 to 8 weeks is pretty good tested because I've tried that a few times now. Because they need to have time to find the right trainers, right? And the selection process is 6 weeks. And if there's a little bit of vacation or anything else in there, then 8 weeks goes actually pretty fast. Plus, it gives time for the management team to prepare communication, design the system, and take some of those decisions. For me, it's not critical what decision they take, but it's important that they have to take a decision they can write down. Because if it's not written down, we cannot test it in a pilot. You cannot do an experiment on the system. So you want to test both the system and the method together, right? So in that sense, we need to write it down and actually define what I would call leader standard work. When do we do training? When do we actually decide, or who decides what to train in? Which is kind of part of the leader standard work also. It's not, doesn't cover all of it, but it's part of it. When do leaders do process confirmation? Who is coaching the training timetable? How often do we update the training timetable? So all those decisions need to be taken. It's probably not right in the first time we take that decision, but that's why we do the pilot so we can adjust it. So there's both a thing about getting time, but not too much time also. So we need to go out and test it, right? So but it is important to have the business case first. If it's not clear for the site management why we do it, then it will just drop off because it becomes training for training. So I do believe the first part about getting this in, what problem are we trying to fix with training? Is it capacity? Is it flexibility? Is it that we are global knowledge sharing? Is it retention? What are we actually looking for? If it's a global company, that can be very different from location to location for the leaders.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a why before we started out, like anything else.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Dirk. And good question. Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, likewise.
Good.
All right. That's all I had for now. If I've got anything else, I'll contact you directly.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you. Thank you. And it's a very relevant question, I would say. Many organizations struggle with this. They do.
Yep. It's usually always more difficult than you think it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the critical part, I would say. But once you get it right, it's actually not easy, but it's easier on the way then. It is easier on the way then.
Yeah.
I would say my learning is the most difficult part is to get the management team to go into that management training and block the time for that. Once you get that locked in and the C, because it's learning to see process, they'll drive and own it.
Yeah.
That's, for me, that's a big difference. That's a big difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Now, some good points. And I totally get where you're coming from with this needing to be on its own strategy A3, or a part of a people development strategy A3 that the organization has at top level and at plant level. So
yes, and I would say I would be careful about calling it people development strategy. So one of the things that we're working on when we work on these is that there needs to be two sides of a problem. There needs to be a business side and a people side.
Yeah.
So the company I was in last week, we talked about this a lot, actually. So on the Hushian, we want to improve cost of poor quality with X through structured training. So it's not that we have a people strategy that we want to train people. We want to improve. It could be flexibility with X. It can be capacity with X. It can be the OEE with X, but through a training culture.
Yeah.
It needs to be tied to some kind of business goal. Otherwise, at one point, it becomes empty because then it becomes training for training in the end.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
leaders,
We have a common client.
Yep.
Which says we do not train our employees to give them a better CV. We train them because we need a better business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I think
as soon as
that's
we lock this into the management team, we're doing it to improve the business. So if there's not a business problem, we should not change anything. But if they see there is a business problem, then they're also driving for it. So it needs to be locked to that daily KPIs like we had in the beginning of the session here. So the daily KPIs needs to link to something more strategically. I don't believe you can put everything on the A3 there, but if they pick one or two, there's a clear driver where you can actually move it.
Yeah.
And as you know, Derek, in many organizations, the small effort we do on the training then has a huge impact on the business.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's often that we oversee and think we need to train every ring. But reality, you do training today, and a lot of that training is actually good. But where are we not succeeding, and where is that hurting the business? I think that is the true driver here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sorry for that, but I think that's really a key point here in that business A3.
No, you're right. You're right. I agree. So, but a part of the people development piece can simply be is we've got a problem. We might have a problem with retention and turnover. So that then is a business problem. It's an enabler issue.
Exactly.
And because it's undermining the ability of the business to succeed in its core purpose.
Yeah. And that makes me think of the case we have that we actually improved the training and then the retention went up. I mean, thinking about that, how do we actually act with our people? We know that 8 out of 10 leave because of the closing relations, right? We seek the good company with the logo, but we leave because of the closest relations.
Yes.
So looking at that from job instruction, job relations point of view is extremely important, I would say.
Exactly.
I would also still put a number on it, even though it's extremely difficult to say what it costs us to lose a person.
Yeah.
But daring to put a number on that, and that's one of the things we do as external, is to challenge the management team on that. Because one thing is, we say we have a high retention, but what does it actually cost us?
Yes.
And that number is much bigger than it costs to train.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly it becomes very easy to make that calculation, because most on occasion we don't have time for training.
Right.
Yeah, but I guess when you make that business case, like we did with Postal Service, that training at 10-minute jobs gives 10% more air, which is the same than $1 million every year.
Yep.
Then I guess 100,000 is not that much for training, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking about the hours spent internally, right?
Yep.
So it's always easier when it's facts-based on this level. Even though sometimes it's difficult to get the data, we need to try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Sorry, you're hitting a very important topic here. Yeah. Cool.
That's
The
right.
whole topic today, right? How do we turn training into business-driven training?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's actually leader-led. And we need to teach them, they need to learn to see that.
Yeah.
I often think it's more important that we have finance on board than anybody else, because it's so important that we show that the people side of it actually create good business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very important point.
Yeah.
I think, well, there's two crucial breakthrough pieces. One is on the financial side, as you mentioned. The other one is that the people leaders actually own it.
Yeah.
You know. Okay.
And I think that's exactly I've trained a lot of people over the years here, and I do see it often that the intern consultant becomes so eager and nerdy almost about the quality of the training that they forget the system and the leaders need to drive it, that they take over.
Yes.
And then when they change job, the case falls away.
Yes.
And I think that's so sad, because they do such a good job and getting it started and having a flag and running in front, but they completely misunderstand the need to shadow. So the leaders need to take the ownership.
Yeah.
So there is kind of a thing that we need to work on here and help organizations see that. And that starts with the leaders taking that ownership. I've done many of the management trainings where actually I had finance people in there, the CFO of a company doing a breakdown and doing a training, and then kind of like, why am I not doing this before? And they can make the business case then afterwards. But if they're not trained in it, they cannot see it.
No.
It has to be something you experience on your body. The quality of training.
Yeah.
Same with the platform that with Champ going in and making those roles and trying to define them is also a changing experience. So
Yeah. Also a lot of work, I imagine, because there's a lot of content there that may already pre-exist, or oftentimes it might not exist at all in the way that you actually need to document it.
Yes,
I imagine.
but the cool thing is they become visual. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you build it from your needs. So you don't do it all over. And I think that we see the elephant all the time, so we have no time. But breaking it down to needs, where do we need to do it?
Yeah.
Is it flexibility between two departments or machines, or is it capacity?
Yeah.
And then getting the overview, and then you can always start to make the materials and start to train. But I think that getting that overview is kind of quite important.
Where do we get a copy of this recording? Because I do want to share this first with an internal group, just to get the conversation started, and get it, get more people involved, because it was just me and one other person from our company that was on this call.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the last comments, is that it is recorded. Based on that proof that people asked for it, so we have recorded, and I hope that's okay. And then we share it afterwards to people. Yeah.
Okay.
Give us some time to edit it, and then we'll send it out.
That's fine.
Yep.
That's fine. Okay. That was all from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions from anybody else, or comments or reflections you would like to share before we close down the meeting? Or an icon, either kind of a smiley or unhappy or... Perfect, Celine. Thank you. Thank you. We're getting a smiling art. Thank you. Thank you. Good. We are here to help and serve. So any ways we can help, let us know. I think somebody wrote something. That would actually be fun to see what that was. Sometimes I'm just so fast. Yeah. No question, just a comment. Looks good. I like that.
Thank you.
I like that. That's a good ending.
Yes.
So thank you for that. And reach out. We'll send out a mail with the link afterwards. And we also send the presentation, so you have that.
Yep.
So no problem for that. We're here to serve and help. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any last comments, John? Or
No. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you too. It was nice doing it together with you.
Absolutely.
And then we need Morten is giving ice another day.
Yes.
Yes, I think so too.
He owes one.
Yes, it does. It does. Take care up there.
Yes.
Thanks.
And let's keep
Bye.
enabling. Bye-bye.